Yo, what's up, man? Hope y'all having a blessed one. We back with another one right here. We got ex-fugitive reveal how he escaped prison and survived 20 years behind bars in Max, Tennessee prison. Man, we ain't gonna look at the whole thing. They got it sectioned off, and you know what I'm saying? They got it sectioned off by section, so we gonna check out a couple of them. Let's get into this one right here, man.
You had a key to your door, all right? And you had a little button you pushed and it would open it. And so from there it would be breakfast, and then you come back and it would be some kind of movement, either for work, education, all that stuff. So if you didn't have a job and wasn't working, you could go to the ball field or to the rec room or arts and crafts or leather shop or whatever. So that's pretty much it. And then chow. And you lock down for count. They lock down again at 11, 4, and then 9 at night is the final one. But that's there. In a lot of these prisons now, you sit there all day. Nothing. You don't never leave the unit. And if you do, it's just to go to the chow hall and back or for an hour out. Other than that, you're just locked down. This is all it is, lockdown.
Now back then it was like an older prison, so was it like the bars on the cells? Or
No, mine have always been doors. There's one, it's closed now. You hear about Brushy Mountain a lot in Tennessee. It had cells, or it had the bars. But I've never been in one that had bars like that. I've been in a county jail, had them, but never in prison.
now because it was a 10-year like probation violation type thing, did you have to serve the full 10 years or do you get out early?
No, they would put you in there. See, mine would have been 10 at 30%, which means that 30% you can go for parole. But then it's up to them. Being that you violated probation, they're going to put you off first time, I'm sure. You know what I mean? And then let you out. That's usually kind of how it is in Tennessee. You'll go up the first time and they're going to put you off for something. Like, all right, when I first went in the classification, they would have made some kind of recommendations, drug class or CBIP or something. And so when you go back up for parole, if you have all that stuff done, odds are they don't have anything to put you off for. However, they'll find something. But that drug class, you can't get in it unless the parole board mandates you. So you got all these people coming in for classification who they're saying needs drug class, right? But they can't get it because they have to wait till they go up for parole. Let parole board put them off. You see more time out of you before you can get in it. So it's jacked up.
So what happens to you? Do you complete the full 10 years? Do you get out early?
No, I completed it. So I go in and I was at that compound for about 60 days, and they send me over to Site 2, which is minimum security, Lake County. I was over there for about the same amount of time. They come to me and tell me I was going to an annex, which is the minimum security you can have, man. That's where you want to go. And I was like, cool. And so when I got there, they said, do you have a TV? And I said, yeah. And he said, you can't have it. And I said, damn, why can't I have my TV? And they said, because you're a technical violator, you're going home in 120 days. And I said, shit, you can have that TV. And so that's what they were saying is that I didn't catch no new charges. I just violated from absconding or whatever, right? And so I'm going to do 120 days and go home. And here's where the fuckery comes in. After 60 days, man, I come in from work, and the counselor's like, I need to see you. And I was like, oh, shit. And I go in there, and he says, hey, man, we found out that you had them charges in Texas. I did. I caught a felony charge when I was in Texas, right? And he said, so you're not a technical violator anymore. He said, so sometime in the next coming week or two, we're going to send you back across the fence, which means back to a compound somewhere. And I was like, all right. Well, the more I thought about it, of course, I get pissed off, and I come up with a great idea. Hey, man, Monday, if they let me go out to work, I'm going to escape. And so I was talking to this other dude, and he's like, me too, man. I'm going to run off too. And so Monday came. Now, here's the thing. So when I was a kid, this is happening in Wayne County, Tennessee. I went to a group home when I was a kid. There was a guy who's a sergeant at the prison. His mom and dad was over that place, so he knew me. Now, on Sunday night, he called me into his office and said, you ain't going to do nothing stupid, are you? And I said, nah, man, what are you talking about? He said, I'm going to try to keep you here. He said, just don't go out there at work and do nothing stupid. I was like, all right. Well, the next day, what it is, they take you out and you may be clearing brush on the side of the road. I mean, it just depends on what you're doing, right? Cutting grass. But then they'll take you to a church somewhere to eat lunch, right? Well, they take 2 crews of us. So there's only 2 guards there. And they ain't shit. All they got's a radio. That's it. They ain't got no gun running. And they would be around front. And so we're going to go around back and we're going to take off. Now, here's the problem. We don't know where we're at. Kinda, you know what I'm saying? But other than that, I don't know. All I can see is woods. And I said, that's the way I'm heading. And so we pull up. About 5 minutes after we get there, we take off. And it's 3 of us. This other dude just takes off running. And I see him or whatever. And so we get into these woods, we're running. And man, them woods wasn't as long as this house, as wide as this house. And it was wide open cornfields. And it was June, so the corn is about chest high. And I knew we wasn't going to have long because them inmates were going to go tell them. You didn't have to worry about the guards finding out. The inmates were going to tell them. And they did. And so we heard the police radios and that kind of stuff probably about 10 minutes in. And so me and the other dude that just took off running get into it. And I tell him, look, you can go on somewhere. So he does. He goes his own way. Well, me and the other dude get in some power lines, right? and get that brush over the leaves over. So we got some weed that we brought out with us. And so we're sitting there all day long. This is June, so it's not going to get dark till 9. And we're watching the TBI. The helicopter flew over once, and then it went. We heard dogs. They never got close to us. But then the TBI airplane flew over us all day long, back and forth. We sit there smoking weed, watching it. And so it gets dark, and we say, what are we going to do? We're just going to walk. And so that's what we do. We take off walking. And the next morning, later on that night, when we took off walking, we heard some beating and banging, but then we heard some police radios. Come to find out, after we got caught, that was dude. They caught that other dude that night, the first night. We find this house, man, and it looks like an Amish house, but I see the electric running to it, and I was like, it's not Amish. But there's nobody in there. There's only like a recliner in there and a bed, and that's it. And so we go in there, refrigerator, nothing in it but beer and vodka. So it's like somebody's party house, right? And so we get the bright idea, well, let's just get drunk and pass out in this house. We don't know where we're at. We just escaped from prison yesterday. So that's what we do. We wake up, and it's like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm starving. And this is what I was talking about. And so we go, and I'm going to find a house, man. I'm going to go in it, just get some food. I'm not going to take anybody's stuff or anything like that. And so we find one, and I didn't think nobody was there, man. And so I knock on the door, and the lady answers the door, but she's got on panties and a cut-off shirt. And that's it. But she doesn't scream, yell. She just says, come on in. I told her I was hungry. So I had to go find the other dude. He took off running. And so I had to go find him and tell him to come on. And so we're in there, and she's talking a mile a minute. She won't shut up, and I'm trying to get in. Is there anybody else in the house? I was really worried about kids. I didn't want no kids, coming here and see this. And she said, my old man's in there in the bed, and I'm thinking gun in my mind. And so I go in there, and this dude's just sitting there on the edge of the bed in his little tighty-whities on, smoking a cigarette. He looks up at me, and I said, hey, man, cause nobody no harm. We just want something to eat. And he, in a very nervous voice, he says, heat him up some of that pizza, baby. Heat him up some of that pizza. And so she does. They feed us, and then they keep talking about their brother-in-law coming over there. Now, we've been there an hour, and this woman has not put no clothes on, nor has he told her to, all right? and she keeps, by all accounts, flirting with me and stuff, because she's like, I sure would hate to know they're going to arrest you and stuff like that. I was like, well, they're going to. Anyway, and so when we go to it, the brother-in-law comes in, and he's like supposed to be some big guru out checking his plants or some shit. And he comes in, and we don't stay long, but I was fine until I smoked some of the lettuce. And when I did that, man, I got extremely paranoid, and it went from okay to bad quick. I just did a turnaround. But anyway, we leave, and they gave us some money, different clothes, and some food, right? But I knew they was going to tell on us, man, and I didn't listen to my gut. And so I just keep going the same way. And later on that night, we see a prison van going down this little bitty, and I was like, definitely they told. So we have to climb up kind of like this little side of this road. It's like a bluff. Well, now we're up above everything, and you can hear everything. There's a little house down here. So we're like here, and this house is like over here. And this truck pulls in there, and this little kid comes out, and he's loud as hell, and he said, police been here all day. And them dudes, he's cussing. He said, them dudes that escaped from prison, they're somewhere around here real close, and they got $100 in food. Dude in the truck said, well, hell, they're doing better than we are. But the little kid starts firing a gun, man, and it's our way up at this hill, and we can hear it. So now we're trying to get back behind as best we can. So we're stuck there all night. And the next day is when they finally got state troopers and all that. And when they arrested us, they kept saying, where's the gun at? And kept hitting me all on my nuts. And I was like, man, I ain't got no gun. We had no gun. But what we figured out was they were just going to try to charge us with a bunch of stuff. So we go to the jail. Now, we don't know what's happened. And they take me in and they sit me in. It's like a desk. There's nothing else in there, but there's all kind of papers on it. And I look on it, and I see statements that people had wrote, right? And I see them two people, because his name was Tracy and hers was Stacy, or hers was Stacy and his was Tracy, one of the two. And I read them. And so I'm ahead of the game. I already know what's been said. And so dude come in, and I said, he said something. I said, man, I want a lawyer. I said, but I didn't do nothing wrong. I walked up, knocked on the door, and the lady let me in. And I watched the expression on his face, and I just walked away. And that was the end of it. But had I not seen all that or stuff, or had this, basically what happened is this woman's husband was sitting there feeling like a coward, as he should have. He should have at least said, hey, you need to put some clothes on. You know what I mean? And after the fact, and so he felt he was going to go try it. And what he said that we did was basically kidnapping, robbery, and home invasion. Now, you're a smart young man. You know what that would have meant. It's over with. I'd have never got out of the penitentiary. But here's the thing. We don't know what's going on. November, they take us to court. Walk in, and there she is, the woman, and my heart drops. I'm like, oh, my God. And she, gets pretty close, maybe from here to the camera, and says, I said, what are you doing? She said, I'm not here for that. She said, I done divorced him. I'm married to another dude. My old man's in here. And I'm like, cool, so things started getting a little bit better. So now we're all sitting in the courtroom. And she keeps pointing the dude out like he's in jail. And so they're going to read everybody's charges off. They read his charges off. You already know what it is, child molestation. And I'm like, I look at dude, and he's like, and we're fixing to be in the same holding cell with this dude. And I said, all right, what are we going to do? And he said, shit, you already know. I said, you don't think she can go back and say, you know, we did whatever? And he's like, no. So they actually put us all in there together, man. He didn't make it back to court that day, and they didn't charge us with it. That's one that they let us get away with, but we monkey stomped him in there. But the fact that the woman was pointing him out and stuff, and it was like his ex, his kid, and it wasn't like one of these cases like had happened prior kind of deal. And this woman sitting there all proud of him and stuff. I was like, man, it was the strangest thing, but that was.
And it's almost like the universe was doing that because of that guy who's
It was like
pedo, you know?
Right, and that's what I was like. Because dude is with me. His name's Smoking Joe. He's still in there, man. He ain't never gonna come home, but he ain't getting much more time. But that's what it was like. He said, "No, it's meant to be." And I said, oh, "It's gonna happen either." I mean, there was no answers buts about it. They put us in there with him. But then I was looking at them other dudes in there, and I said to him, I said, "So how long has this dude been in jail?" And he's like, "Oh, a few months." I said, "Oh, so y'all just letting him walk around?" You know, and everybody's gonna drop your head, you know, whatever. Then they go to prison, or they'll get out of jail and tell somebody what they was in there doing. They weren't in there doing nothing. You let them walk around, probably get them in your commissary.
The cops probably put a ton of pressure on the husband and wife.
Yeah,
you gotta give them credit. They held strong. Yeah,
that woman held strong, man. Because
you made a good impression.
Yeah, I read, man. It was the craziest thing, and she kept bending over, Rome. I left that part out too, kind of. But like, there was a box of clothes, and she had her ass basically to me. And she kept bending over, looking back at me, saying, "Will this fit you? Will this fit you?" And I was sitting there thinking the whole time. I'm looking at dude, and I really kind of felt sorry for him at the same time, man, because here's a situation that little did he ever think that somebody was going to rush in his house in the morning, which I didn't rush in. She let me in, or whatever, but and do that. But I just feel like I would have had a little different of a reaction.
So what were the charges in Texas that you got hanged up for?
A forgery charge, man, because of a check that my son's mother's mother wrote us. Mm-hmm. And when all this happened, she said we forged it. I took it for the girl because there wasn't no sense in her doing anything. So they gave me 4 months for it.
So you could have gotten less time if you just stayed in there, went to the other side, and got transferred to Texas.
Yeah, I could have just. Yeah.
But you didn't know what it was.
I didn't know what was going to go on, what was going to happen, man.
Because you had a criminal record. Texas is strict.
Texas is strict, but the good thing about them is, man, like I said, they gave me 4 months, or they gave me 8 months, and I did it in 2 months. That's what it was. They gave it to me. Gave it to me in August, man. I want to say no, that's not right. Whatever, they gave it to me. It was like 2 months, and I was done. And Tennessee was picking me up.
Now, why did you guys stay on top of that hill or whatever? Why didn't you guys run? You had ample time. You guys could have tucked it off, get out of there, get to a different state.
Oh, because we didn't. That's the thing. All right, both of us. This is what I said too in the beginning. I said, you know, man, we could take and steal somebody's car and do all this. I just don't want. I'm not trying to do all that. I was going to try to make it back to Franklin on my feet. I wasn't trying to get no more time. Basically, is what it was. And we were hung up. Like that's what we were trying to do is make it, but we had to stay in the woods because everybody in this area knew without a doubt that we were somewhere more than likely. Now, had that dude not gone that day and done that, they would have never found us. We would have got away because they would already stopped looking.
Insane. All right, so now you're back in this jail.
Yeah.
You guys beat up the chomo. What happens? How much time do you guys get for the escape?
2 years. So they give me 2 years run consecutive. So they turned my 10 into a 12 is all they did. And I did 11 years and 7 months on that 12.
You know, I don't even blame you for the escape. It's the case manager or counselor's fault. That's a huge mistake.
Yeah, it happened on the state all the way around. That's the whole thing, you know, because it come down from the Rachel Jackson building. You know, these counselors and stuff didn't do it. The people who do all your time in Nashville did. So it's the main people who sent that and said, send him there.
Yeah, they put out a silver platter, though, of, hey, give the guy a week to at this. That's like saying you got a detainer on you and they put you at a camp.
It's almost like they wanted me to do it or something. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, I feel like that, like, I know they put me in situations when it comes to chomos and stuff, though, for sure, in classification. But, man, you don't never know what people are doing, man. I mean, odds are, if I was in that situation and I was one of the people and I went and told someone, hey, buddy, you're not going home in 60 days. We're going to just go and continue doing that 10. There's absolutely no way I'd let him go outside that fence. Mm-hmm. No way. I mean, so, but again, there's a lot of stuff that gets overlooked, man.
Do you ever look back on your life now and be like, I wish I just, stayed, didn't try to escape, because then it never would have got turned into the 10. You would have done the Texas. Everything would have been fine.
Yeah.
Like you could have had another decade of your life.
I could have, man. And then I could have got out and stayed out of trouble. I could have stayed off of dope. I could do it in there, but I'd get out.
I mean, I know we're not supposed to regret, but I always think about the what ifs. Like, what if this relationship worked out? What if anything from the past worked out? It makes you think,
Yeah, I think about it all the time. Mm-hmm. People ask me about shame and stuff like that. Yeah, man, I got a lot of guilt and stuff and a lot of what ifs because I had several chances, bro. I had several chances, like a lot of people did, to do the right thing, man, and just quit getting high, man. Mm-hmm. I just wouldn't do it. I just had to be a part of that crowd. And what I found out apparently was, PTSD or whatever they say. I'm still not big buying into all that stuff, but I finally dealt with stuff, man, and I realized getting high ain't where it's at. 21 years, man, 21 years a month, and that's just prison time. That's not counting the programs or the county jails or all that stuff, man. And it's sad, man, and it's just that vicious cycle. My life, as good as it is, I could leave here today and use, and tomorrow I'd already probably be close to having new charges or something. I mean, I'd already be working on it. Yeah. It goes that fast, man. It's just like. You have to learn. I had to learn how to be a normal person, man.
Now they send you back to that maximum security prison you were in the first time. What are people looking at you as? Like, are you idolized because you escaped? Or
Yeah, some people, because I was around a bunch of other people. A bunch of escapes happened kind of at the same time in Tennessee, but they were the real deal escapes. Mine was, I basically just walked off from work detail. But there's a group of guys who took over that prison that I'm at, River Bend, in '98, and took over a whole unit and escaped. 5 of them stayed out about a week, and another guys had escaped from South Central. So yeah, because we were held at higher security than anybody. You know, we were the ones that they had to keep hands on at all times walking and all that. And then man, they kept us on max almost 5 years for it. Mm-hmm. That's the part. That's the dead time, day for day, no good time, and you're 23 and 1 in a cell. You know, that's a long time. I did 4 years, 3 years, and 2 years. 4 years, 6 months, 3 years, 7 months, and then right at 2 years the second time.
And just locked in a cell.
Locked in a cell. You got a TV if you're fortunate to have one, and a radio. It depends on where you're at. You know, some places are different. You know what you can have. Now it's getting to be where they don't want you to have anything at any of them really, but.
Now, how can you hustle if you don't have money from the outside, if you're locked down?
You have to figure out a way, man. Now, as far as hustling locked down, man, it's hard. That is very hard. A lot of people make wine, try to cook off whiskey or something like that. That's about the only thing. And so if you got whole time, they would lock you down in your cell on the compound, which is where you'd want to be. And so I'm in there minding my own business, man, and they put this dude in there. I didn't know him. I never had seen this dude. And the first thing he said was something about trying to get shipped away from Northwest. And I was just sitting there thinking, man, who have they done put in a cell with me? You know, I'm in here like contraband, I got a phone, I'm living good, I'm doing my whole time. And I'm like, I got a blanket hanging over the beds. You can't see me at all. I'm like in coma. So he's up on the top and he gets down. In Tennessee, they have porcelain sinks on the wall and they have a little pipe under it. Well, he takes that pipe out and he throws it and knocks the window out of our door, like the little glass window. And I got up and I was like, you know, what you doing, man? You know, and everybody's coming over there. And so the police come over there and I said, man, get this dude out of my cell, you know, whatever. And he's like, no, man, per the warden, he ain't going nowhere. So I knew right then. I said, you motherfucker. And I knew why they put him in there. And so I just told him, I was like, look, man, they're going to come replace that window. You're not going to knock that window out again. You're not going to blah, blah, whatever. And so he's sitting there, and all of a sudden he says, yeah, man, I ain't going to do that. But what I am going to do is knock his sink off the wall. And that was it. That's all it took. And I beat him. He had a damn grapefruit on his head, bro, that come out right here from where his head hit the door. How his head never didn't bust, I don't know, but he ended up being a chomo. But that's why they did that. They put it in there. They do that, man. They'll put him in there with one they know, you know what I mean? Because I'm going to say this, man. Some people... I can be whatever, but the whites are the ones who primarily pretty much do stuff to the chomos, man. That's just kind of how it is in Tennessee.
Yeah, I mean, in the feds, there will be blacks and Mexicans and other races among their own ranks that are chomos, and they're accepted or they're never checked. The whites definitely hold their own people more accountable.
Really? I didn't know that.
There was a lot of black chomos that were, you know, they use religion as a cover, whatever, and they just, you know, they keep in their ranks and no one's checking them. It's not... It's so interesting, you know, especially among what I've noticed with the whites, the Jews in prison. I was with a Jewish cellmate, and I'm Jewish too, and he was a chomo. I didn't realize he was a chomo until after because he was so well respected because he had the rabbi on payroll to bring in contraband. So guys are using him. They're ignoring the fact that he's there for 15 to 20 years as a sex offender because he has those connections.
Wow.
So those were the only white people I got to see like get away with being a chomo.
Yeah.
But it's very interesting of what goes on in there and
It
the
is.
different races. But there would be a lot of black guys, a lot of Spanish guys that were, you know, undercover chomos essentially among their ranks, and the white guys would be the ones to call them out on it.
Is it separated primarily by race in the Fed too? Is that how it is?
I know in like Cali and the West Coast kind of it is in the penitentiaries, but on the East Coast it's by car. So it's by state. They call it like New York car, Connecticut car, a New England car, things like that. They ride like that. And then when you get into the maximums, the mediums and the maximums, and you got your gangs, you got your Aryan Brotherhood, you got different, you know, things like that. Very political in the feds.
Yeah, see, the only time I've ever been around any of the politicking kind of stuff was in the county jail in Arizona. It just don't happen here. I could see a need for it maybe one day, but I don't see it happening. Tennessee's different. It's just different, man. I hear all these states and people talk about what goes on in them, and it's just not that way. Like I said, Tennessee has air conditioners and TVs and radios and beard trimmers. I mean, you get a lot of stuff, but they're slowly but surely taking it away, though. But yeah.
I can go ahead and end this one right here, man. Y'all go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe. Hope y'all have a blessed one. See y'all on the next video.